Hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to be working on page 269 and 270, and we're going to be talking about prepositions. Prepositions should be one of those lessons that should be pretty easy for us because we've been talking about prepositions all year long. And we know that prepositions show relationship between a noun and a pronoun and other words in a sentence. The preposition always comes before the noun or the pronoun. There can be more than one preposition in a sentence, but there's not always a preposition in a sentence. And we know these two things because this year, as we've been marking prepositions or prepositional phrases, some sentences had them and some sentences didn't. So I've marked the first two in the purple sentence for you. It says the pharaohs of ancient Egypt built pyramids. Well, of is actually the preposition, but if we were looking for a prepositional phrase, it would be of ancient Egypt. The next sentence says the pyramids at Giza were built thousands of years ago. There's two prepositions in there, at, and then there's also of, and those have been marked in blue for you. If we were looking for prepositional phrases, it would be at Giza, and the other one would be of years ago. So the preposition between, the word between, is used with two things, but the preposition among is used with more than two things. So let's look at these two sentences. Egypt is located between the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. So between is a preposition and it's used with two things. And then the next one says the pyramids in Egypt are among the most famous in the world. Among is a preposition and it is used with more than two things. I drew a house right here to remind us that when you're thinking about prepositions, that you can actually go in a house, around a house, you could walk through it, you could go on top of it, you could sit near it. So when we're thinking of prepositions, we think of position. What is your position? Okay, so I actually did this video just a little while ago and had to redo it again because I just didn't like the first one actually. And so you're going to see that I have marked up the sentences. So we're just going to go through them. All right, so let's look. It says underline the prepositions in the sentences. Some sentences do not have prepositions. See page 355 in the Grammar Handbook for a list of common ones. That is a good tool right there, 355. Well, the most famous pyramids in Egypt were built on the plateau of Giza. So we see three prepositions in here. We see in, on, and of. So we're not marking prepositional phrases. We're only marking the prepositions. So we've underlined in, on, and of. Number two, it says there are three pyramids and a large statue called the Sphinx. Well, if I read this sentence slow, there are three pyramids and a large statue called the Sphinx. There's no word in that sentence that shows position. Okay, so let's look at the next one. The Sphinx has the head of a man on the body of a lion. Now, of, on, and of are your prepositions. Of is one of those, which is the weird ones, because of and to, and there's a couple of prepositions that we call them a little bit strange because, you know, we just do. So, but of, on, and of they are prepositions also. Khufu built the Great Pyramid around 2560 BC. Around, remember you could go around a house. Okay, so number 5, it was the tallest structure for more than 2,000 years. For. Oh, that's one of the other ones. The others kind of, you know, weird sounding one prepositions for. But for is a preposition. So of, to, and for are a couple of the ones that sound a little strange, and I know that's really several. So number 6, a tall lighthouse called Pharos was built in Alexandria. In is the preposition. It shows position in Alexandria. Number 7, after the fall of the Pharaohs, the Great Pyramid was the tallest building once again. So, of. Of is the only preposition I see in there. And number 8, however, the Great Pyramid was 30 feet shorter than the Pharaohs. However, the Great Pyramid was 30 feet shorter than the Pharaohs. Well, we do not see any preposition in that sentence. Nothing that shows position. And number 9, the Great Pyramid between remained the tallest building until AD 1880. Well, until. Until is the preposition in that sentence. So let's look at number 10 through 13. It says write the preposition in the word bank to complete the sentences and use each preposition once. Why did we use between right here? Well, let's read. It says the pyramids in Egypt were built between this date and this date. So between 2700 BC and 1700 BC. So between. Number 11, we use the prepositions in and after. Well, let's see why. Ancient Egyptians believed in life after death. They believed in life after death. Number 12, the Pharaoh was buried. We used among his many treasures. And if you've studied anything about Egypt and their pharaohs, pharaohs were built in these pyramids, and they would put tons of treasures, gold and little statues and paintings and all kinds of things in the pyramids. So he was buried among his many treasures. And number 13, it says the pyramid was the Pharaoh's palace of the afterlife. So they believed that the Pharaoh would have this palace, and that's why they would stock it full of so many treasures. So that was his palace of the afterlife. So this was pretty easy worksheet for us today, and you're going to find the next worksheet on page 207 pretty easy. But you will have to be take it slow because it says underline 17 prepositions. So they've told you how many there are, so you're going to have to read it kind of slow. Did you see how slow I read one of those sentences? And the reason why is it was because I was trying to show you, take it slow. So 17 prepositions in there. Don't forget some of those silly ones like those ones that sometimes we want to think that don't sound like silly, like of, to, and for. So numbers 1 through 7, it says write a preposition from the word bank to complete each sentence. That's pretty easy. And then down at the bottom, fill in the circle next to the sentence that is written correctly. And this is where they're going to use the word between and among. And remember, you're going to have to flip back to the front page and see when do I use between and when do I use among. Between, remember, is when you're comparing two things, when you're talking about two things. And the word among is when you're talking about more than two things. So I hope you understood this, and if you have any questions, please send me a message and I'll get back to you. Thank you. Have a great day.